welcome back to another episode of the Stephen Cheevers Mind Trip. I'm super excited today. I've got my boy PDK Fitness in the house, and
Cheevers!
and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with this man. He's super fucking interesting guy. He's a good dude. I don't know how Instagram decided to make this motherfucker famous, but they did.
They don't do it anymore.
They don't do it anymore. And I'm glad they did, because it's been to my benefit to get to know the guy. But to the world around us, I'm not so sure. But Paddy, for anybody listening that is not aware of who PDK is, what PDK does, give us a bit of a background. Like, who is PDK? Who does he help? What's his jam?
So, hello everybody. I'm on the Cheevers. What's in my diary is the Stephen Cheevers Mind Trip, and that's my friendship with Cheevers. A mind trip. So I'm Paddy. I'm 28 years old. People still think I'm like 23. Casey thought I was younger. I was younger than him when he first met me. Anyways, off topic. I'm Paddy. I'm 20, online coach. Just full-time idiot, full-time waste man, the most unorganized, disorganized person you'd ever meet. Chaos is my condiment. What?
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, chaos is my condiment. Who do I help? Right now, I think the only thing that's common between my clients is and who I help is like people who are like, how do I say this? Super successful, but hate themselves. That's who I help. Is those people, and they're great. They're like me. They're just wild. There's never a dull day with my clients. It's so much fun. But yeah, how did the internet make me famous? Cursing, one of the world's worst mustaches, and being a leprechaun.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely all of those things.
Yeah, I wish there was gold at the end of my rainbow, though. Jesus.
All right, cool. So, obviously, you work in health and fitness. You've had your own sort of fitness journey, and, now you're helping people do something similar. You've got a really cool community called Crack On. Let's rewind the clock for a while, way before I met you. Obviously, you're pretty transparent on your Instagram about, your sort of old life, if you want to look at it that way, when you were, significantly overweight. You partied a lot, you enjoyed some of the finer things in life, let's say. And, it wasn't just alcohol. There was, some, drug abuse in there as well. And and you've obviously done a lot of work on that too. So I mean, like, let's rewind the clock. Like, how did you, was it just like that standard like teenage thing where you just sort of like you start drinking with the boys and then you smoke a bit of weed and then the next thing you're doing some coke and it just sort of spiraled from there? Or was there like a moment in your life that caused you to be like, I need to have all the cocaine all the time?
Mate, I think about this often, right? So I remember people like this, like I talk about my like, I call them the glory days, but I also call them the, like, the was there going to be another day days.
Yeah.
So the mad thing is, and like, I remember telling this to the boys, I was only doing drugs for 2 years. I only had 2 years of it, and I was like, I peaked early and like I had to get it looked at. So I remember I started drinking when I was I think I was in fourth year. I was a late bloomer to drinking as well. I was just turned. I think I had just turned. I was like 16.
Okay.
And 16, and like I look at my first time drinking, and I was like 3 naggins, and like right then should have been like, all right, like. Maybe there's a future for you, son. Mount Rushmore type stuff. But it was just every time I went drinking was just like, it just had to be everything, right? It just had to, like, you had to drink everything. And then I think my first time doing any sort of substance that wasn't alcohol was, I don't know if they had it up north, but down here we had the All Ireland mock trials, right? Where you pretend it's like a mock court setup.
Okay.
Right. And then the schools, and it's like you're in fourth year, you're competing against other schools, and there's like 5 stages, and I don't know how, but we won the con. Like, we won the con. So we actually ended up going to go to New York to compete in the international ones, and got wrecked. Yeah, got wrecked, mate. Man, those kids in America be prepping for this when they're like 8 years old.
I've never heard of this at all. I was like, wait, is this like a kangaroo court type thing? You do rugby? And I was like, oh no, wait, this is like a sport.
No, it's like actual court.
Oh, right.
Actual court. Yeah, it was wild. So we ended, and then like the first time it was at our like bonding night, our celebration night, and like no one else was doing anything that night. It was just me. It's just me smoking away with my mate from down the road, who I was like, oh, these are boring. Will you come by with some weed? Like, you know? And then it was just like, oh, do you know your first like drinking a thing? It's like a whole new world opens up, right? So then it's like I'm drinking, partying loads in TY. In TY, you don't really do anything down south. Like, so you just mitch all day and go drinking. Like, you know, so in town it's just like the winos and the fourth years. So that was me. I was both of them at one point. And then it was just like smoking during leaving cert, equivalent of A levels or whatever it is in the States. And then college comes by, and then it's just like the floodgates open, right? You know, college is like I think college is an experiment for everyone. To figure out, like,
are you going to be a drug addict for the rest of your life or not?
Yeah, it's like to figure out how you really don't want to be for the rest of your life, right? You know, and oh man, it was wild. But yeah, to get back to the question, I was drinking with my mates, and then it was like, at the time, what I didn't realize at the time was just like an escape from like the real world, right? Because that's why everybody does it. And then it was just like finding the next person that would escape with me. And it just like progressed through there.
Interesting. Yeah, because I never like went that hardcore with it. I was like, my fair share of drinking, drugs and whatever, and like enjoyed it. But I was kind of the same as you in terms of being like pretty like late to the party. And I don't even know why that was, because when I remember getting into like first year, like being like 11 years old, and like kind of falling in with like lived near me, like who I thought were really cool people, but like later, like my mom was like, they were like, all those guys went to prison and stuff. They were like bad people. But you don't know that when you're a kid, right? And they were, you know, technically kids at the time as well, so you didn't know what they were going to become. But like they kind of introduced me to like alcohol and stuff, and you know, like there was never any like drugs and stuff. I know that people were smoking weed and things like that, but I was always very like anti-drug, ironically, like growing up for a long time. Like I was very like that whole way through high school being like, you know, say no to drugs, like I'll never do drugs are for losers, stuff like that. And then again, it wasn't probably till I was in maybe fourth and fifth year, might be different in the south and the north, but I think I was like fifth year, and it's like our fifth year formal, and I was maybe like 16 as well. And again, I hadn't really drank at all through that like stretch between like 12 and 15. Definitely hadn't done any drugs. Don't even think I'd ever smoked a cigarette. And then kind of got into that like 16-year-old age where everybody's drinking, you know, and you're just like, all right, okay, I'll have a couple WKDs and fucking Smirnoff Ices and shit like that. And then from there, like I remember we were going to I wasn't 16, I had to be 15, because I remember going to a nightclub in Banbridge where Casey's from. I don't know if he would have ever went to these places. They were probably closed by the time he was old enough, but there was these nightclubs called the Coach and the Belmont, and they just didn't.
The Belmont,
yeah.
The Belmont.
they didn't ID you. Like I remember being 15 years old, going in, and like the bunch were just being like, yep, go on in. And like there's no way I looked like I was fucking a grown man at that stage. And now people were popping now the Coach more than the Belmont. The Belmont was a wee bit more slightly upmarket. There wasn't really a big drug problem there. The Coach was wild. Everyone was pinged off their face like, like listening to trance, and like it was a big trance club. There's also like some harder stuff as well. But I remember going to see all these DJs. Like I don't know if you remember these guys, but there was a guy called Scott Project, and from Frankfurt. And man, every time he was in town, like I went to see him, I fucking loved that guy. There was some other guys like Alex Kidd and like really hardcore DJs and stuff. And we would go to these clubs at like, 16, 17 years old. And we would just go and drink. Like I remember the drink at the time was 2 shots of black aftershock in a pint glass with a blue WKD, and it turned into this big purple drink, and it was called Bruiser. It was fucking unbelievable. Yeah, and like because you would drink it and you would just be fucked. And I'll never forget one night going to the Coach, and I think it was maybe it was either to see Scott Project or Alex Kidd. It was one of those DJs, and one of my mates, he had like a black sort of like fucking zip up jacket on, and then like a white shirt underneath. So took his black jacket off, stuck in the coat room, fucking pint of Bruiser. This thing is like purple. It's like purple drank. You know that fucking stuff that everybody gets fucked up on in America? That's the color it was. And in the smoking area, smoking a fag. And some guy bumps into him as he takes a sip and just goes, boom, full pint glass down his white shirt. And it's just purple. So he goes, oh, fuck's sake. And he goes to goes into the cloakroom, gets his pays to get his coat back. He's like, all right, fucking give him my coat back. And all night he's like zipped up like this because he's so embarrassed about his shirt. And this place is a sweat box, even if you're a t-shirt. And he's just the sweat's running down him, and he's like, but the thing about it was, like, even back then, I was just so oblivious to like drugs. Like, even like everybody would have been chewing their face off around me, and I was just been like, oh, these guys are having a great time. And I'm like, but like I would never have been like, oh, that looks really good, give me a pill. So, and it wasn't really until I think I sort of got into like sixth year where like I started to get a wee bit more chaotic, probably like yourself. Like that's like I didn't go to college. I went to sixth year to maybe go on to university, and then never did. But like that was just fucked up every weekend. And then whenever I got a car in upper sixth, and I was able to like drive around picking up girls and like taking them places, like I was just off the fucking rails. Like I went to school, but I didn't really go to school. And we were just partied all the time. And I remember it was within like the first 2 months of me having my first ever car, I was fucking trying to show off to this girl, spinning the wheels on it, and like lost control of it and fucking hit a fence and fucked the bumper on it. So my mum, like God love her, from the day I was born, put money into a savings account every week for me. Used to be like a little school program. Again, don't know if they had these in the South, but you would come in with your wee check. Remember they had checks? And it would be like 20 quid. And every week you would give it to the teacher, and she would put it go into a savings account for you. So my mum did that every single day from I was born. And the payoff was when I was 18, I was going to get all this money. And it was about 10 grand or something. And so I was 17 and a half or whatever. And she goes, you know what? You can just have it early because you fucked your car and you're going to have to pay to fix it. And I'm not paying to fix it. And you're not paying to the insurance. So 17 and a half year old Stephen Cheevers, already a party animal, gets lumped 10 grand.
yeah, bro. Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. So, man, like, it was even worse when I was 18 and I actually had my own ID. Man, I went out, like, every night of the week in Belfast. There was only maybe 1 or 2 nights of the week you couldn't go out in Belfast. I can't remember if it was a Monday or a Tuesday, but there was, like, one of the days there was just nothing on. But, man, like, there was this club called The Box in Belfast, and I was there, like, fucking Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, fucking I just had unlimited money. It was just like front coupons. It's like, fucking any clothes I wanted, whatever. And then that would have been like my first experience with drugs for sure, was, going around to a mate of mine's house that I partied with, and his older brother was like, you want to try speed? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then and I've never done it since. Like, I remember trying speed. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack for a start. I remember going back I still live with my mom, obviously, at the time, just going straight up to my room at like, this must have been 6 or 7 in the morning. I got home at, heart still beating out of my chest, lying in bed, can't sleep, have a micro penis, just like, like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, the micro dick was like very worrying, because you know what I'm talking about. But like, I remember looking at it and being like, is this going to come back? Like, is this gonna come back? And And it was also simultaneously, I think, the same night that I tried weed, but it was hash, or brown, and they would get like a Coke,
hash.
yeah, and they would get the Coke bottle, and like I can't remember what you call it, but they'd get like a fucking mop bucket of water and a half a fucking 2 liter bottle of Coke, and they'd put the fucking tin foil on the top, and you'd go, "Oh, I'm gonna look like I'm not gonna do that on camera," but you know what I mean? You would go up and down. Was it a lung or something it was called? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I remember the hash back here was like. It was you get it all from the Moroccan boys who I think are still operating in Galway.
Yeah.
Like it's like, but it was so blocky that, do you know those, like, I don't know what they're called. Do you know those like do you know people have nail files for their nails?
Yeah.
But you know, there's those ones that like I think only old women have, and it's like for the dead skin on their heels.
Yeah.
You had to go to the hash with one of those because it was just, and there, oh man, it was nuts. I remember the first when I was like 19, I was given a big, you know, a relatively big 5-figure sum that like. It, like in today's world with my business, I'd be like, if I got that, I'd be like, good month, you know, good month.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
I was like 19 or I was 20, 21. I burned the whole cunt in 8 months, like,
yeah.
You know, and I remember there was much to the same. Like I still don't drive. 28 years old, which is nuts. But I get the boys just to drive all around Galway, and I like obviously at the time I was so overweight and like, you know, was not talking to girls because that was like,
you're like big
not
smoke.
Even not even on drugs could I do it. Like they made me feel like I could rob a bank, but talk to a woman, absolutely not, right? But yeah, you know, not happening. And we would like when we had that cash, it was just like any opportunity to go on a session was a session. I remember. Do you remember Seth Troxler?
No.
So he's an American DJ, and there's this really famous clip of him in Miami, and he's just tripping balls.
Right. Okay.
He's tripping balls, and someone's interviewing him. Yeah, and you've definitely seen the clip. He's tripping balls, and this guy's interviewing him. He's like, the bats. he's like looking all around him and punching him. The guy's just like. And Seth, how do you enjoy Miami? And he's like, I'm in Transylvania, man. I'm not in Miami. Like, I remember seeing that clip and being like, I need to get as fucked up as possible, and like say that to Seth Troxler, So I remember going to this club, and did I ever show you the photo of the guy who looked exactly like me when I was 140 kilos, 300 pounds?
Oh, I feel that it feels familiar to my brain.
It's like identical. Identical. I remember going to the club, right, and I was wrecked. I was destroyed getting there. I was like, I think you were talking about that drink Bruiser. You did have Rocket Fuel. I don't know if you drank Rocket Fuel up north, but do you know what Rocket Fuel is?
No, well, it might have been a different name, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's bottle of Boost.
Okay.
And you drink like maybe half the bottle of Boost.
Okay.
And then you pour, of the half that's gone, you pour like 3/5 of that half with Buckfast. And then the other 2/5 with vodka.
No, I've never had that.
Oh man, Rocket Fuel. And then, you know, obviously with Rocket Fuel, you need rocket powder. So,
obviously.
Drank the Rocket Fuel, had some of the rocket powder. And then I show up to the club. Right.
Up to the club. Yeah, not even in yet.
Yeah, not even in yet. Boys at the door are like, Paddy. And I was like, you know, the boys at the door there, I was there so much in a club called Electric that they knew me, right?
Yeah.
They're like, not tonight, Paddy. Not tonight. You know? And I was like, fuck. Okay, fuck. Okay, what do I do? So your man had finished his shift. He must have started early because there was a day shift on. So he finished there was 2 new boys at the door and neither of them knew me. Right?
Right.
So I run home, 300 pounds of pure speed. Right? I run home. Speed, yeah. I change my clothes. I shave my beard. I changed my clothes, shaved my hair, rock back there, like not sobered up, but acting sober. And they're like, "You look like a guy who tried to get in earlier." And I'm like, "Fuck, do they know me?" And I'm like, "That's my mate." They're like, "Oh, was Michael here?" And they're like, "Who's Michael?" And we're like, "Oh, look at this. This is crazy." Showed them the photo of me and Mike, and they're like, "That was him, man. He always makes a show of himself." And I always get thinking, they're like, "Prove it." Because I said I'm from work, and I don't know how I managed to remember, but I pull out my hotel's name tag. I'm like, "I've just come from work, man." And they're like, "All right, yeah, I shit you not, Cheevers. When I rock into that club, I think I had dropped like, oh man, like 800 quid in the first 20 minutes.
Oh,
You know, because I go in, and I'm like just trying to compose myself, and like as soon as I get in the door, like a cinema, I fall over. All right, I fall over, and yeah, and it just like to bring it back to what I'm trying to get to, any opportunity, it had to be done. Like, do you know the boys who like, it's any opportunity to pull a woman, and
Yeah.
like nothing will stop them. They're going doing it. That was me with drugs, right?
Yeah.
That was me. Any opportunity to take it, I'm there. You know, even actually at that point, I remember getting into my head that and saying it to the boys, be like, women were a distraction for taking drugs.
Yeah, they're just getting
You know,
in the way.
They're a time suck, right?
Yeah.
They're a time suck, you know. Whereas drugs are just like bit of K with the boys was you know peak enjoyment of that. Like, fucking hell, it's so twisted, isn't it?
You know, I never actually got into fucking any ketamine or anything like that. It was only, I remember the first time I ever did coke, and I think I talked about it on like my first episode of the podcast, and somebody that worked with me at the time messaged me on Instagram and goes, "Is that true?" And I was like, yeah, no. I was like, I thought you knew that. I was like, so my first ever time fucking doing gear was whenever I was working in I worked in like a Vodafone retail store. That was sort of like my first ever like real job, and first sort of how I got into sales and how I like started enjoying sales. And my manager at the time, I had loads of managers, so I'm not going to name them. But this particular manager at the time, they were all coke fiends to be fair, but this guy was particularly a bit of a coke fiend. And like every single one of them was like, any staff night out, everybody's coked off their fucking head.
Vodafone
But this guy,
Belfast, I hope you're listening.
Vodafone Northern Ireland, all those motherfuckers. But I remember going out into none of these people work there anymore, so they're all in the clear. But I remember going into the back office. You see, there was like a camera that, like, you know, obviously the manager could see like what was going on outside, and obviously I'd fallen into a bit of a blind spot. And he's like looking on the camera, and the next thing I just fucking barge into the back office, not like trying to catch him doing anything, just like I need to go in the back office for paperwork or whatever. And he's just like, and I mean like a pile. I've never seen like a pile like it in my life. It was like something out of Scarface, man. It was like this size. It was huge, and it was yellow. I'd never seen yellow coke. Still have never seen yellow coke to this day.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
And I was like, and he goes, "You want a line?" And I was like, and I like this was like, I must have been 20, I want to say. And at that point, I don't think I'd never done coke before. But I'd always wondered about it because I'd like obviously seen like, you know, there's loads of movies and stuff with cocaine, Scarface, things like that. And I was always like, that sounds like a fucking good time. But it just never sort of, the guys I hung around with weren't big into drugs. We smoked a lot of weed and stuff, but like we didn't like do any coke or anything, any hard drugs. And I just went, yeah, fuck it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, just fucking ripped a big line of it. And he goes, that there is called Colombian honeycomb. He goes, that's how you know it's fucking good. It hasn't been cut yet. That's why it's not white. And I was like, right, okay, shit. And I think he was a bit of a dealer himself. And anyway, man, I was like, whoa. And you know yourself, like the first time you do drugs, any type of like drug like that, it's never the same again. It's like, so it's like that initial one is, and you're always chasing that high. Man, I must have sold about 30 phones that day. I went out and I was just like on fucking like 3x speed. Like everybody was like getting their fucking deals done quick. I was just like, yeah, this phone, it does this, it does this, it does that. Wait, what about this phone? Bang, 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 bang. And it was awesome. And then when it wore off, I was like, fuck, I want more of that. And then I think like he'd probably told some of the other fucking managers that were his boys. Because like the next night out we went out on like everyone was like, you want some gear? You want some gear? You want some gear? I was like, I've never been offered this amount of gear from you fuckers before. And they're like, oh no, we know you're all right. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool. And that's where it all went downhill. But
I've been there.
But yeah, so that was kind of like my first experience with that. And then I never did anything like outside of weed and coke until I was like 24ish. Like I remember somebody offered me MDMA to go to a rave, and I was just like, nah, because I don't know if it probably was the same down south, but I remember when I was like 18, 19, like that sort of teenage years, like late teens, you always heard about someone's cousin or something takes an E and dies like instantly. So I was just like, that's not worth it. But then people were like, no, MD is different because it's like, it's not a pill, it's just fucking powder. And then I remember going to a rave and I was like, oh, I'll just do coke. And they were like, no, you gotta do MD. And we're like, all right, fucking, if you guys are doing it,
it's like a rite of passage at a rave. You're not allowed to do coke, you have to MDMA.
I was like, I've been to fucking raves for years. I was going to raves when I was 15 on like fucking alcohol. Like, I mean, I can, on beer, like I can do a fucking rave without fucking having to take ecstasy. But I was like, all right, if you guys are doing it, I'll do it. I'll trust you guys that it's safe. And again, remember dropping the fucking bomb in my mate Mark's house, and we get the taxi to, it was called T13 in Belfast. It was like this big, huge fucking warehouse in the Titanic Quarter. And I remember, and this was Halloween night, by the way, so I'm dressed like Day of the Dead. I have a full Day of the Dead suit on, my face is painted, fucking everything. And again, I remember, same experience as a speed man. I get out of the fucking taxi. I'm like, oh, do you know what? They were like, you can't piss when you're on it. And I was like, you won't be able to piss. I go, well, I need to piss now. They're like, go do a piss now, quick. And I was like, right, okay. So I run, fucking take my zipper down. And I'm like, oh, where's my dick? Like fucking micro penis again. And I'm like, oh, fuck's sake. So I'm like fucking pulling this tiny fucking penis out. And like forcing a piss out of me because I'm like, fuck, because I need to piss now. So if I'm not gonna be able to piss all night, this is gonna hurt. So I'm like squeezing this piss out. And like, I'm still not even high yet or anything. Like, I don't feel anything. I'm just like trying to like squeeze a piss out of this tiny penis. And which, by the way, just for the record, it's not normally that size. And
he's lying through his teeth.
It's normally like, you know, like this. But yeah, so like I'm forcing this piss out, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! It goes, I don't even feel high yet. So anyway, we get in, and then some people, you know, the way everyone when they're like, "Oh, I'm starting to feel it," no, like, and I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. I'm like, maybe I'm just a fucking, you know, maybe I'm just the fucking man, and these pussies can't handle their drugs. So anyway, I'm like, I buy like, I think it's like 2 fucking Smirnoff Ices or something like that. Just something like the drink. And man, I take them from the bar, and I turn around, and it was like a truck hit, like a train hit me in the face. So it's like, boom, and I went, oh shit. And all the fucking, like, the rave's already started, all the laser lights are coming down and stuff, and I'm just like, woo! And then everyone's like, oh, has it kicked in yet? I was like, yeah, this is class. And yeah, so like those nights are so much fun. But now I'm just like, you know, obviously same as yourself, I just don't like, that just doesn't do it for me anymore. I mean, I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it, but I'm just like, I think like you get to a certain age, especially if you grow your own business and stuff like that, where you're just like, your brain's like, you've got so much to lose now.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want that one night of a couple of hours of fun? But the pet that, you know, you'll have a lot of fun, but the trade-off is, 1, you're going to be dead for days, but 2, also you might die. So like, you know, like how much of this fun do you want to have? Or like, you know, maybe just have a drink. And then that's sort of for me, like the way I've kind of went with things. Like I'm, you know, it's not been the same sort of journey obviously you've had, but I've just sort of got to the age and level of success where I'm like, man, it's just like not worth it to me.
Yeah,
can't afford to
do it anymore. Yeah, you know, it's like I remember, like I was walking through town there with one of the boys. It was with Burke. It was with Owen Burke. It was with Owen Burke, and we were walking through town, and I was looking, and it was a Friday night. My friend has just gotten a manager job in a new pub. So I was like, I'll go chat to him, like, because he's been working for this for a while. Quite a good pub in Galway. Galway being like one of the bigger nights out in Ireland, if anyone's not from Ireland, you know. And so I went in and I was walking there and I was just looking at all these like teenagers and like our young 20s, 23 max, and I'm just like, oh, like what was a responsibility back then, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm looking, and they're just like, they're legless. They can't walk, they can't speak, only each other can understand them. Like, they may as well be speaking, you know, Kenyan for all I know, right? And it's just like, and they just like, they can act like, it's crazy now looking at that and like knowing I did do that. Probably the same as like, I could actually afford to do that back then. Do you know, with time, and with not just even like time is one thing, but like mental energy, you know, the ability to go and do it again the next day, like that seems so wild.
It feels like a lifetime ago for me to be like I was saying, like I would have went out like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, you know, there was maybe only one day in there that I wasn't going out, and it was like I would have just woke up the next day and been like, oh, like a little hungover, that's fine. I'll just have a fucking bottle of Coke. You know what I mean? Like I'll just have some sugar and I'll be fine. I'll have a fry up and or you go to McDonald's and stuff like. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even back then, like the stuff I used to eat, like
awful.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like off, like. And I used to, and this is probably how I ended up probably having a bit of an issue with my own weight, and I still sort of have like issues with weight and stuff today, and like just eating and things like that. And I think it was like all from that period of my life, because I obviously had a high metabolism when I was younger, which I've since lost. And like I remember like going out, getting pissed. And like at the end of the night at the Belmont, there was a burger van at the bottom, and they did these incredible fucking cheeseburgers and shit like that. And like, I remember you would have come down and you'd have been like, and they were so cheap as well, because everything was cheap back then. And it was like, yeah, I'll just have two of them. And you'd have got two. And you'd have fucking eaten like two fucking quarter-pound fucking cheeseburgers with onions and fucking sauce and all the rest of it. And like, you'd woke up the next day and been grand. And there was other times, there was like a pizza place in Lisburn, because I lived in Hillsborough at the time, and which is kind of like between Lisburn and Banbridge. And I remember there's this place in Lisburn, and they were like, if it was a Saturday night or whatever, they were open until like the clubs were like, they knew people were coming and they were going to be blocked. And I remember in a taxi on the way home, so it was probably about a half an hour drive back in the taxi, and I'd have phoned them up and been like, yo, I want a taco chip with cheese delivered and a fucking pepperoni pizza and this, that, and the other, and onion rings. And that would have been waiting for me getting back home, and I would have got home blocked. I'd have eaten the whole fucking thing, and then went to sleep. And then
wild.
Yeah. It's like, you know,
it's so strange. I had a funny one. I was on the phone with I was on a call with Helmy just before this, and I told him about it, and he's like, mate, what are you doing? That's just not good enough, lad. So I'll tell you so in a minute. So I like back when I was, oh man, this is funny, but it's also quite like, you know, I say this to some of my female friends. They're like, oh, that doesn't seem that bad. And I tell this to my lads' friends and be like, yo, that must have been like a real kick in the teeth, a real like life moment when this happened. And you'll understand like that male pain when I say it to you. So I was like for a 21-year-old kid having like, you know, north of like fucking 25 grand in his bank account and like having a serious drug problem was just so bad. So I was like my phone was slow for like a week. So I'm just like, buy a new phone. Right? You know, thinking I was the big dog, like, but so I got a phone, right? And then my friends, it started working again. So now I just had two phones. Okay. So I gave one to one of my mates, 18. All right. Gave one to my mates, 18. And she, like, my email was still connected to it. Okay. So she would get an email, and she would get an email every time I ordered delivery. All right.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you understand. Yeah, that's so much pain. And she was like, dude, like I understand, like maybe like twice a week, you know, once a week as a student, but Paddy, you would get yours twice a day.
Yeah.
All right. And it was the Mazzoni's Munchbox. And I remember her saying that with all of my friends around me, being like, Paddy gets Mazzoni's Munchbox. It's 12-inch pizza, chips, onion rings, chicken wings. And just standing there being like, and like just looking down, not being able to see my feet because my stomach was so massive, right? And I just like, I remember saying that to some of the boys there, like some of the coaches, and they were like, fuck, man, you must have been, like, obviously we, in like the coaching world, we understand like clients' pain like that. Like, you must have been in pain. And they're like, what you doing? I'm like, I went net, bro. I went net, but so like the stuff I used to eat on the weekend, right? On the weekend, everyone knows Paddy's like way too emotional when it comes to rugby. Like I'm just way too emotionally involved, right? My story turns into a fucking anger management diary when it's on, right? And Connacht were losing 7-27 at half time, and I'm like, not another year. I'm not doing this again. Fuck this. Ordered. I got a large pizza, right? I got a garlic bread. And I got 4 cookies from Papa John's. This is the first time I've ever eaten that much food in like since last year.
Right.
Since last year, not even in Marbella did I eat that much food in one sitting. Right? Guess what happens?
Go for it.
Connacht come back and win from a 20-point deficit.
This is all for nothing.
The pizza arrives at my door, right? Because I'd ordered some for my friend as well. And I woke up Sunday and I was saying this to me, I was like, I genuinely don't know how I used to be able to do that. I was like, it's only this today I've recovered. And that's food, bro. Imagine imagine dropping like, however much money on like a night out now, right?
Oh.
And like, I just wouldn't be able. I just wouldn't be able. You were telling me first experiences of drugs. That's what I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
So back in first year university, that's when I started my stuff. And like because I had started doing it, and I was a bit of a reserved person back then, had turned into like a very outspoken person. People are like, oh, maybe like Paddy's unit can't be that bad, right? One of those, right? So I had taken a lot of people's like virginities when it came to drug. Okay, so I went out with one friend, and he shall not be named. Nobody knows him, but I know he does watch my stuff, and I know his family does as well, so he won't be named. But we went out, and I got involved in loads of societies in college, in uni, thinking that's like, because my parents are like, oh, get involved in societies. I'm like,
yeah,
nobody does that anymore, right? So I'd gone out, and it was my friend, I will name this one, Emer, was having a house party. Now, Emer is what I can describe as a liberal.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of her friends, they like wrote poetry, and they were like Afro-Caribbean society, and there was like she was living with like 2 Muslim girls who were like I don't know how to describe. I don't know. They were like in a rebellious phase, They were like had their parents are back home, and they were drinking in Ireland, okay? But drinking for them was like 2 beers on a night out. Like 2 beers on a night out, okay? So me and my friend rock up. Now Emer, she's from Cavan, she has a couple of friends, they're all a bit of wild heads. So I rock up, and terrible idea. Me and Emer, my main mate, and her mate, I forget her mate's name, we had split a gram of MDMA 4 ways, right? Because back then, like, I only found this out recently. A gram of MDMA is supposed to last you a month.
Yeah, I remember doing it on a night.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how people couldn't do it in a night.
Yeah. I think it was just that everybody was doing really dangerous levels of it.
Yeah. So me and the guy who had just tried this for the first time. No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. It was his first. Oh, fuck off, Siri. It was his. He was an athlete. All right. And he had just done a 1/4 gram of MDMA, bro, like, it was one of my first times, and so it was still it wasn't hitting me like that train feeling,
yeah,
but it was still just like, you're walking in the club, and it's like, yeah, baby, okay, but for him, it was like, we went on a journey, like, we went on like a mental, but also like physical journey, like we walked literally from one side of Galway to the other. Like there's people like on the Galway Twitter being like, why is there 2 boys sitting drinking a bottle of Buckfast at the top of Blackrock Diving Tower at 6:30 a.m. right?
Yeah.
So we got back to the house party, bro, and he's tripping balls, and like the girls are like is he okay? And I'm like, he's fine. Don't worry about him. He's fine. And he like, he's playing with his fingers. But then like to the girl sitting next to him, one of the Muslim girls just like grabs her leg. And he's like, he looks at her and she's freaked. She looks at her and he's like, there's bees in your leg. There's bees in your leg. And she's just like traumatized, mate. And I'm just like, I'm looking at that stuff. Yeah, I know. Like, imagine the poor girl. Like, you know. And I'm pretty sure she stopped hanging out with all those people at the fear that like we were going to be there again. You know?
Yeah, probably most people would.
Oh, mate, it was just like, I remember, yeah, like your first time doing some stuff was just like nuts. I remember, like, still don't know how I got out of bed the next day, let alone like went and, you know, as you said, like got the Coke, got the chicken fillet rolls and all that pre-hangover stuff. You know, I remember, we had done K one night and do you know those kaleidoscope things you get as a kid that you turn and like all the shapes? I thought my hand was like one of the, and it was just like anytime I looked at my hand, it was like a Picasso painting. It was all like cubes. And bro, I thought I was a T-Rex. Like it was terrifying. I thought people were coming out of the TV screen, and I think if that happened to me, like back then, it was like, oh, yeah, that's just the drugs. If that happened now,
you'd think you'd lost your mind.
I would just phone up the most expensive therapist I could find, like, you know, and just like try and just figure out. And they're just like, it's literally just chemicals in your system. Take hand me my €400, please. You know, like fucking, it's not. Kids, man. We were kids and we just had stamina.
Yeah, I only ever had one bad experience in MDMA, and then I'll get into my like the one bad trip that I had that was significantly worse than what you'd said. But yeah, I remember doing MDMA.
That wasn't a bad trip. That was fun, man.
Oh, that was fun for you, was it? Right. Okay, fair enough. Well, I had a bad trip that was not fun, but I remember doing the same year that I'd sort of like first done MDMA, and with the same people, we went to like this New Year's Eve party at a place called Kelly's up in Port Russia, Northern Ireland. Really famous. Like, I don't think it's open anymore. It used to be like a big famous like club for like big DJs to come to, and there was guy Ben Nicky. He was playing on it.
Ben Nicky, I know Ben Nicky.
Yeah, one of the girls was like obsessed with this guy, like messaged him on Instagram, everything, and she was like, "We have to go." So anyway, we go to that, and I was working in Audi at the time. I'd sold the guy that owned Kelly's back then his sister a car, so she was like, "Oh, I'll tell him you're coming. You know, we'll get you VIP tickets. It'll be free. Blah 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 blah." Like, right, cool. So we go up. We're in the Airbnb, and everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna take our first bomb now." And I was like, "Well, I can't meet the fucking owner of Kelly's, like fucking pinged out." So I was like, "Right, I'll go up and meet him sober, and then I'll catch up," type thing. So anyway, they're all fucking like da 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 da. And I'm like meeting the fucking owner of Kelly's for the first time. He's giving me the tickets. So we go in, I'm like, right, I'll take my fucking now. So literally take the tickets off and go, bang. like the second I turn my back to him, it's like in my mouth. And then must be like 10 minutes. Nothing's kicked in for me yet. And they're all like, "Oh, we're going to take our second one." And I goes, "Well, I may as well catch up. So I'll take mine." So then I take my second one with all of them. We go up into the VIP area, and there's like a private VIP toilet. So only the VIP area can use this bathroom. But it's small. So anyway, I go in, and there's a guy fucking doing gear. I assumed it was coke. I don't know what it was. And he's like, "Can you keep a lookout for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I'm taking a piss, and I'm able to see the door from here. And I'm like, yeah, you're all good, mate. You're all good. And so he does it. He goes, "Thanks, mate." He goes, "Do you want a bump?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Don't even know what it is. Just go, bang. So 10 minutes fucking later, mate, I am literally like this. Fucking complete spastic, and they're having to basically babysit. No, I'm still having a great time, but they're still having to babysit me all night, and and I'm just like this fucking monster face on me. Gets to fucking midnight. There's two guys, there's two girls. Like one of the girls I've been trying to crack on with for months, and so that was like the night. Everybody was kind of like, "Oh, they'll fucking get together tonight," type thing. Gets to midnight, and I'm literally like this. Like this fucking monster from Stranger Things or something, and she's just like, "No." Like completely fucking blew it, and still angers me to this day. But yeah, that after that I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna really fuck with the ande anymore. But the worst trip I ever had, I've had the best trips I've ever had, and the worst trips I've ever had were with DMT. And I got into DMT over lockdown when we were literally like trapped in the house, and that's when like I really got into listening to like Joe Rogan and stuff like that. And they were always talking about DMT, ayahuasca, all this stuff, and I was like, well, fuck me. Like, I mean, I'm pretty experienced with drugs. Like, I'd love to fucking give this a go. So I said to like some of my boys and was like, look, we're all fucking stuck in the house here for the next fucking God knows how long. Do you want me to order up this DMT and come around to my house on the fucking down low and we'll smoke it some night? And everybody was a Joe Rogan fan. They're all like, yeah, let's do it. So that's how I got into DMT. And the thing with DMT is like it's sold by the gram, but like you don't need a lot of it. Like it's a very, very, very small dosage. So like it lasts for fucking ever. So during like after I'd done it with them, I then started researching it more, being like, what's the best dose? Bought like a proper pipe for it, like all these different things, because we were smoking out of a crack pipe. It was fucking criminal. And so bought like the proper equipment for it, all the rest of it. And man, like every night, like over lockdown, I was just fucking getting fucking tripping balls in my living room every night. This DMT, and it was amazing because you literally like you just go like this, boom, like sleep for 15 minutes. It's like the kaleidoscope shit, but you're flying through it, like you're flying through the center of the universe. Like it's crazy. I'm gonna get you back on the drugs here, but it was so much fun. But I was never doing that whole like breakthrough thing, you know, where you like see entities and things like that, and get messages and stuff. So I kept researching online. I was like, what do I need to do that? And there was one night we were playing fucking online poker, me and all the boys, and I was just like, you know, I need to have this breakthrough experience. And anyway, I got fucking eliminated from poker really early. And I just went, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to smoke DMT here. And there'd obviously been like a backlog from like not cleaning out the pipe, that there was more DMT in it than I thought there was. And I fucking hit this, just not even trying to break through in this one, but like just fucking hit it. And man, I just go, boom. And the guys on the Zoom call, like they thought I was dead. It was like I wasn't moving. I was breathing, but it like I was literally like, I like didn't move for like 15 minutes straight. In my head, mate, I was gone for what felt like years. I fucking went to this I was walking around and stuff. I was in this fucking like elf heaven. There was all these mechanical elves and stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit, all right, cool, I've finally done it. And they were like, you're not supposed to be here. And they just start abusing me. And they're like, you're in elf heaven now, and you're not an elf, so you shouldn't be here. You've OD'd and killed yourself. You've done this, you've done that. The message I took away from it was stop doing drugs, which is then I stopped doing drugs after that. And I only really fucked around with it a little bit after that. But like, yeah, man, I was scary as fuck. And I kept begging them, being like on my hands and knees, like, please let me go back. Please let me go back. Let me go back. I'll not do any more DMT. I won't come back here. And then, they
let me live.
Yeah, let me live. Yeah, and they just kept being like, no, you're fucking, you're dead now. You've OD'd. You're an idiot. And then I got a few other sort of messages, like cryptic messages and stuff from it. But yeah, they were basically like, all right, fine, like we'll send you back type thing, but don't do this. Don't come back here. And I remember like waking up on the couch being like, and like everybody on the Zoom call being like, yo, are you all right? We were going to call an ambulance there. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I goes, well, I'm done for the night, and just closed my laptop. And went to my fridge, because like coming down from any drug, I always find like something sugary really helps. So I got like a big bar of Galaxy out of the fridge, a big bottle of fucking Dr. Pepper out, went to the living room. My dog Loki was like waiting in there because I'd locked him away. I wouldn't like ever do drugs anywhere near him or like around him. He's not with us anymore, obviously, but back then. And I went in and he was like licking my face and stuff. I was still tripping, so he was on fire, and I'm like and because he had like a speckled coat, so it looked like when you're tripping, it looked like he was like in like it was flames, and I was like, oh fuck. But he was like licking my face, and it was like Stroke the Furry Walls out of fucking that fucking how to get him to the Greek. And I'm literally like, oh, because he was so fluffy. I was like, oh, thank God. I remember turning the TV on, and the TV's on, and I can't see anything. It's just black. Like I was like, it was tripping that much. So that was like my last like heavy drug experience, where I just sort of went, nah, I'm sort of done with this. So we've talked a lot of fucking war stories and shit there, but so for you, obviously, like, what was the breaking point then that made you go to like rehab and like try and change your life, and what sort of led you on to like the path that you're on now?
It was. Do you guys have Rag Week up north?
No.
So Rag Week is like it originally started as like back when my folks were in uni. It's called Rag for Raise a Grand, and you raise a grand for a charity, and then on the Friday night you go out and the charity that you raised for, they like sponsor your night out. So it's not like that anymore. It's just like a massive session, Monday to Sunday. Okay. Right. So, and then the hardcore is like me at the time, we start the Friday before the Monday. Okay. So I had like, I burned through this money, which, was actually like it was an early inheritance, because the person that, I was inheriting from, they were losing their memory and they wanted to see us spend it.
Yeah.
So, and I spent mine poorly. Yeah. So, so I went out that night, and I went out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The Monday night I had, I think I dropped like $1,000 each night on just like cigarettes, taxis, food, drink, drugs, and
fucking hell.
Yeah, it was the Monday night, and the Tuesday was Valentine's Day. It was my dad's birthday is Valentine's Day. It was Monday night, and it was my first time getting like there's like Coke, and then there's like rock Coke that's like not caught. It was my first time properly getting that, and I got it, and it was just like I just felt like I was like really like, instead of like, I had properly felt like I was running away from something, because it was just like an endless 5 days, and I just I couldn't stop if I wanted to. So I had been hallucinating for like months, and some people relate to this, some people don't, but like any night before I went to bed, if I closed my eyes, I would see like those tiki masks from Hawaii, except like a really demonic version, just like spinning when I closed
like Crash Bandicoot.
Bro, it was terrifying. It was terrifying, right? It was terrifying, but like a demonic version of Crash Bandicoot. Jesus. And then anytime I would fall asleep, I would wake up every hour, and there would be there's like proper sleep paralysis. There was the man standing at the end of my bed in like this big trench coat. He's like 7.5 feet tall, and he had this big fedora on, and I could see him for like months, and he just stood there. And he
what's this move. Like your sleep paralysis demon?
Yeah, bro, it was the Elephant Man, right? It was the Elephant Man. And like sometimes he would like, I'd close my eyes and he would take a step closer, but like I never saw him took the step. And then the last night he was right next to me, and I looked up, and his facial expression never changed. I could always just see he had like a big long like hag nose, and I could see the nose pointing out from the shadow of fedora. But on the very last night, he just did this big like Joker from I said I have goosebumps thinking about it. This big Joker smile, and he said, what did he say again? Did he say you're done or you're finished? I can't remember. And I've been sleeping with a knife under my like pillow for like months. Like if there was shadows outside that were obviously the leaves in west of Ireland, the wind, I'm like, there's people outside my fucking house, man. And I remember it was my dad's birthday the next day. I went to dinner, and I told my folks on my dad's, but the day after my dad's birthday, because they took a look at me when I showed up for dinner, and they were like, whatever's going on, tell us tomorrow. I was like, okay. So that was it. I was just like, that was my turning point of like, it's much like when, we talk about like having weight issues and stuff. There reaches a point where you just like, I simply cannot do this anymore. Yeah. Even if I wanted to, I just cannot do it. Okay. So that's where I got. I told my parents I'd love to say that was my last time doing drugs. It wasn't. I think I had like 3 or 4 more sessions before that. Went to rehab 4th of April. My last time doing drugs was the morning of the 1st of April. So was in rehab 4th of April, came out 4th of May 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, 2018,
Yeah.
because April 1st next year is 7 years, and have not touched anything since. I will say, first time meeting Cheevers in Marbella 2 years ago. First time
I was tempted.
he was like, I'm gonna make you money, and I'm gonna make you relapse. There's a notch on my belt I'll never get. I was just like, yeah, it was like, that's not gonna happen. The first one, yes. The second one, no. But like, that's when I was
I'm
like,
working
yeah,
on it. I'm working on it.
Cheevers is one of my people. Like, do you remember on the boat when you were just smashed?
Yeah. I know.
Waiting for the bathroom.
I mean, that one. Everybody still talks about that because, well, not now that we've had the second Marbella event, but the first boat party, like after that, everybody was like, Jesus, that man just drank and drank and drank. And I must have had like 10 pina coladas in the space of like 2 hours. I was just like, bang, 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 bang. And
so good.
I tried to replicate it at this year's one, and I just couldn't do it because I was so hungover. Like the previous year, I didn't go hard on the Saturday night or the Sunday night or whatever it was before the boat party. And then I went hard on the boat party. This year, we went big in the evening. Like we took everybody to Astra, and then we went to Astral, that big pirate cocktail bar. Do you remember it? And then we went to some fucking nightclub and got like bottle service and stuff like that. And I was fucking like, everybody was rinsed. That was fucking crazy. Like, I mean, there was not naming any names because they're a lot of them are still active clients, but like there was boys like waking up in anthills and stuff. Like they'd slept outside in an anthill all night. There was a guy who broke his arm. There was some boy went fucking missing. His missus started fucking ringing everybody saying there's money taken out of the account and like this, that, and the other. And I was like, I think he just got money out. I don't think he was robbed. Like, he's robbed. And I was like, I don't think he was robbed. He might have went to the Rippers. I don't know. But like, he wasn't robbed. So...
Oh god.
Like it was just fucking chaos, and that is what the coach's mentorship is all about, people. So make sure to sign up. No, I mean I do like that aspect of like what we do because like people can let their hair down and stuff like that. That one got a little crazy.
Yeah.
I probably put too much fuel on the fire. The thing is though, like, and I won't apologize for this. Every time that like something like that happens, it's because everyone's trying to like fuck me. They're like trying to get me fucked up. They're like, oh, let's get Cheevers fucked up. I want to see Cheevers like this. I want to see Cheevers like that. Blah 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 blah. And they don't understand. They can't keep up with like my level of alcohol consumptions because it's like I can outdrink all of you. So it's like, yes, you may get me fucked up, but in the process, you are going to
gonna get fucked up.
You're gonna but not just fucked up. You guys are gonna be mangled. Like you guys are gonna be a crawling home. And
the funny thing about those ones is because that's partially definitely me, Dargan, and Tony's fault.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
We're there and we're like, oh, have you guys met Cheevers yet? And they're like, no, and I'm like, oh my god, you're gonna love Cheevers when he's like, and then because me and Dargan, like the first Marbella, right? The first Marbella, I remember we went to Fat Mama's that night, and me and Dargan sat with you at the end of the thing.
Oh yeah.
And like me and Dargan weren't drinking. Yeah. Me and Dargan were drinking, and Casey wasn't either. So we were just loving it, like loving Cheevers go at it. And we're telling all these ones the following year about it, and obviously they're going to be drinking, and they just get absolutely. I do know the boy who broke his arm, and he's a very close friend of mine.
All great people.
Unbelievable people. But yeah, it was loose. It was loose. And it was great.
It was funny. So all right, cool. So we've been through rehab. So that's 2018, man. That's a long time ago. So what was there a lot going on in that period between that and then, you know, you becoming PDK Fitness? Like, what happened in that little space where you obviously had to go through your own fitness journey at some point in there? Because I would imagine, like, you lost all the weight and then decided to become a coach. I'm sure you didn't go, I'm going to be a PT when you're 300 pounds. So, like, what happened in that little sort of space between making the content and sort of blowing up and the rehab?
Yeah, so I have a Barry Maguire, Barry's bots. He was the first person that really pointed this out to me, and then as life gone on, people are like, "Oh my god!" So I have this trait of like being an addict, and also like definitely having some form on being on the spectrum or ADHD, right? I get
Yeah.
quite obsessive about things, quite obsessive, and like run it into the ground. Just I do it so much. So after I came out of treatment, I like, I had so much time in my hands. So I started going to the gym, and I got a job. And people always tell me, and they're like, "Oh, you're so like talented. You're just like good at a lot of things." I'm like, I'm not good at it. I'm actually quite bad at a lot of things. I'm just like inherently obsessive to like people. Like,
I just won't give up.
But not a good type of give up. It's like I worry myself and cause myself to the brink of like mental, just like I'm such a failure because I haven't done 99% yet.
Yeah.
So I was in this job. I was working in a cafe for 3 months. Got promoted because I was just like, I need to do such a good job. Because when you get sober and when you stop drinking, like life does open up to a lot of like new feelings, experiences, sensations of just like, you're not drinking as much, so you're more productive. When you're more productive, better things happen. So I had like really been doing a good job in work. They promoted me above people who've been there for years. Then I got 9 months. I got promoted to the manager's job in the sister cafe, and I'd been crushing gym. I was going to the gym every day after work, walking to work, walking back from work, after 3 times a week. After I was doing the gym every day, and most days in the beginning I was running like 2K, 2.5K after the session, the gym session. So I was just like doing an insane amount of work, really loving the high of exercise. And then I was like, like being a manager, I really like it, but like I really like fitness and can see myself doing that. So I started doing that. Left the place in town. It got taken over, and then me and the new owner didn't get on, so he let me go. He did, the really nasty let go of, like they're like, oh, you don't need to worry about that anymore, and then they start like lessening your responsibilities and then lessening your hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I'm the manager, and they're like, yeah, but I just want to take on a more like role within the business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you want me to leave? And they're like, I want you to leave. And I was like, okay. Yeah, all right, so I fell in that lucky time. I had maybe like 4 or 5 one-to-one clients, and I could not really making a lot of money, but I was living in a really cheap place in town, so I could afford to pour my time into that.
Yeah.
I forgot, like looking back, it's so hard in this industry starting out. Like it is, you have to do so much grunt work,
which people don't want to do. People don't want to do.
And to a degree, I think it's fair, because if I had to keep doing that, I don't know if I would have done it. I started at that really lucky time of COVID had just hit. So like I'm forced now, like I'm like getting my 400 quid a week playing video games at home. So I'm like, I'm so bored. Yeah. So then I started talking to Barry more, started learning about online, invested into something called OFB. Do you remember Souk Sidhu? Souk. OFB. He has an online training platform now. I can't remember what it's called. But did that. Then I remember crushing online. Like within 2 months, I had 30 clients. Wow. I think like five months, I'd done my first 5-figure month, which back then was like, it's more common now. Back then was not common in like your first 2 years, let alone year. I'd done it in 5 months. Moved to so I was just like, I can do this, like, I could do this. And then as the market swings and I know, like, and like some people in this industry, they can have like 3 months of the year where they make, where the rest of 9 months they couldn't make that much money. So and those swings of the business are nuts. But that's it. Like, I was just so obsessive over so many things, and it extends into fantasy rugby. Like one of the top 5 of that last year in every single competition. One of my newest ones is Dungeons and Dragons, because I'm a big virgin, big nerd.
Fair enough.
Content, like, as much as like everybody talks about content now, and it's such a huge common thing. When I was blowing up, I was doing, like, people are like, getting 2 pieces out a day is hard. And I was like, guys, try 5, because that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was doing 5 a day for 6 weeks. Blew up. I don't know how I did 5 then. I wish I actually, I probably could do it, but the type I do now just wouldn't. It doesn't fly on social media anymore. It doesn't work like that. So just that obsessive kind of addict thing that had like caused me pain for so many years helps me out now. Like business, it adds into business or client acquisition, lead magnets, flow marketing, marketing itself. Just like, and I boil it down into simple of just like, and you probably relate to this and probably see it, people saying, I'm like addicted to helping people. I'm addicted to making money. I'm addicted to these things, and obsessed is the right word. Obsessed. It does more for me than anything else.
Yeah, that's cool. So when did you? So you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but like, so it was like COVID. You were bored during COVID, and then you were like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna start making all this content." I need to get this online thing going, and then everything just sort of blew up for you.
COVID, I was making content back then. It was remember the infographics?
Yeah.
It was that stuff. I only started making videos when I went to Dublin, maybe like 2020, 2019.
Okay.
And then it was when I moved back to Dublin 2022, that summer. Yeah, summer 2 years ago was Barry had told me about Social Circle, started doing that, and then blew up. And that's when like I've introduced to people like you and Tony and Dargan and Sean and Evan and all these people. So it's like, but that 2022, the summer of 2022, fall of 2022 is when like things went like kaboom.
Yeah, cool. It's interesting because a lot of people would maybe look at that from the outside and think, oh, like he's blown up really fast. It's been like an overnight success. But really, when you look back at that, like that was like years in the making.
That's it. People still think going viral is lucky. It's so many failed attempts. It wasn't like it was. It was 8 weeks of posting 5 times a day, and 8 weeks, like that's like a short time. I'm like, yeah, but if it was about quantity back then.
Yeah. That level of quantity now is unheard of. Nobody's going to do that.
It's unheard of. Nobody's going to do that. Like, I probably still could do it. Like, it was as simple back then. It was like, I walk to the gym, which is an hour's walk, film 5 walk and talks, film 15 videos at the gym, which I could still do. I could still, like, that's easy.
Yeah.
And then walk and do 10 back. That's 25 pieces of content. And I would go filming 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So that's 75 pieces of content a week, and I'm only posting 35, So yeah, like it was, and like Sean, like, the guru, like he's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, bro, you told me to,
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but I didn't think anyone would do that though.
Yeah.
Like I did it, It's and that, like, most people do 1 a day now. A growth period now is 2 a day.
Yeah.
Or it's not even 2 a day more, and it's like 10 a week, 10 reels a week. Because now you can't even do a reel a day. You got to do like 4, 4 a week, and then you do your 2 infographics and your client-facing posts and all this, that. But where was I going with this? Wow, fuck! I lost myself there. You do your 1 a day. Doing that now is just like, you can't do it. I probably, like, if I sat down and like I have you can see it here and back there. Like anytime I go filming now, it's just like I have to get 5 done or else I do nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that like just obsessive attitude to get the stuff done. Like back when, and the same goes with like anything, sales calls. If I'm doing sales calls, I'm like, I'm not doing 1 in a day or 3. I'm doing 10.
Yeah.
Or like there was one day in February last year, you would have been proud. It was before you and I met. I done 20 sales calls in the one day and closed 18. Yeah, and it was just like told my assistant coach Charlie, I was like, you've 18 people to set up by tomorrow, and he's like, how do I do that? And I'm like, you just sit down at the laptop and do it. Like,
just get it done. Yeah,
just get it done.
Yeah, I remember the early days of the CM. We would have had like, there was like a massive influx of like people that had kind of been, mostly following Tony rather than myself. I maybe brought like one or two to the party, but there's a lot of people whenever I remember Tony posting up on his Instagram, which wasn't what it is now. Back then, he maybe only had like, I don't know, 8,000 followers or something. Not, it wasn't crazy. Posting up and being like, oh yeah, I'm, launching a mentorship with my friend Steven. A lot of people have been asking about this for a long time. And we must have got maybe somewhere in the range of like 10, 20, 30 inquiries. And like I remember just doing sales. Like I just been like, give me all the sales calls, and I just opened my diary all day and like just sales call, sales call, sales call, sales call, sales call, sales call. And we were closing about, like, we nearly closed pretty much everybody that inquired at the start, because people were like clamoring for it. It was cheap. There was maybe only like one or two people who were either rejected them or they didn't sign up, and then eventually they came crawling back anyway. So like we got like that initial burst, we got all of them. But I remember getting that when we first started and being like, holy shit, we're gonna be fucking rich here. And then like it just sort of like after that just petered out, and it was like very slow. After now it's huge again, and it's very fast. But like back in those days, I remember we got a lot influx at the start, and we were like, holy fuck, this is gonna be incredible. We get this every month. So I was like, fuck, we get this every month, Jesus Christ. But I remember, like you said, like your assistant coach, you got to onboard all these people, and I would have like sat up till like 2-3 in the morning, like onboarding people, just like one after the other, being like this is just like, I want to make the bread, like I want to make the money. Whereas like if I was to tell somebody, like even a client of mine now, to do that and be like, look, you're gonna have to sit up to 2-3 in the morning and like do the admin and do this and do that and blah blah blah, but like you're gonna make like fucking 5-figure months out of it. Like, but people would still be like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I've got to go to the gym, or I got to do this, or like fucking this time. Like people, like, I think it's become like a nice buzzword for gurus and business mentors and even just coaches in general to talk about like balance, like all this balance stuff. And I'm like, if you want to be really fucking rich, you can't have balance. You can either be really rich or you can have balance. And I've tried to do it both ways, and I feel like I found like a nice balance for myself. But it's like if you want to make huge money, like you've got to stay up till like all hours of the night fucking working. Like you just have to, like, you've got to work 12-hour days. You've got to work hard. Like you can't think, oh, I'm gonna work 7 hours a day, get a gym session in, make all my own meals, clean the house, look after the kids, do this, that, and the other, shag the wife in the evening, and like, and also be fucking really rich as well. And I think like Hormozy is the extreme when he talks about that stuff, because he'll be like he's more extreme than what I've even just said there. He'll be like, work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, don't see your family, fuck everything else but work. I don't think you need to go to that extent, but like, especially if you're trying to build something for the first time, like you need to give up everything and just like focus on that. And I think
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, last thing just for move on, like, and I think like that's the problem as well with like especially young men that come to us and they've got like a girlfriend that they've maybe had from they were 18 or since they were in school or whatever, and the girlfriend's doing their fucking head in, and like really, like sometimes I have just said to people, like, break up with her. I goes like just break up with her, because she's doing your fucking head in. Like you don't sound like you're happy for a start. She's constantly nagging at you, she's this, that, and the other, and you're trying to build this fucking empire. As like, you can't build the empire and also keep her happy. So either she has to sacrifice that she's not going to be happy because you're not going to be around a lot, or you just need to get rid of her. And like 9 times out of 10, they either have the conversation, and they're like, well, that's not okay, then you just have to get rid of her. Or she'll be like, okay, I understand you're trying to do this now, I'm going to be in your corner. That one's very rare, like, to see. But anyway, sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I think like balance is that word it's a funny one, like, because I'm heading into a period in the next couple of months where it's just like it's just like a monster amount of work. And we talk about building empires and things like that. I actually like I can only do that for 8 to 12 week periods. Now I look at these and like I did that 8 to 12 back, and I'm like, I didn't realize it at the time. I realize it now, hindsight. Was like, I'm going to work really hard for these 8 to 12 weeks, but that is the level of output that I need to sustain. So I then need to bring on like the team to be able to like take on those responsibilities. So, closers and setters and all these things. Like now it's like that 8 to 12 weeks is just like content.
Yeah.
Like coach, content. Before it was like coach, content, sales calls, lead magnets. Now I'm just like I can't do that anymore. So it's like going into that, like that balance, like you work. And Evan Daly actually said this, and he's like, when you're heading into a period of whether it's a fitness result, whether it's like a business result, you have to work in a period of imbalance.
Yeah.
You know, like so many things get sacrificed.
Yeah.
So many things, like Helmy was like, you know, we're heading into the last like couple of weeks before I go to Valley, and he's like, mate, this sitting down watching rugby for 12 hours on a Saturday, you can't do that anymore. Like, help me, please. Like, and he's like, mate, there's a time and place for it. It's just not now.
Yeah, I kind of, with all the travel this summer, I kind of fell off the wagon as well. Not like I was going crazy and getting fucked up and eating like shit, but my sleep was terrible. I wasn't making it to the gym like I should have been. I wasn't putting in the effort. I like cardio had stopped completely. The only thing I was really consistent with was steps. And like I'd said at the start of this week, okay, I think I'm locked back in now. I've got my sleep sorted. Meal preps are in the fridge. Like there's no excuses. I said, he goes, okay, so training, cardio, nutrition, where are we at? And it was nutrition sorted, all the meal preps in the fridge. They're all macro counted out. I know exactly what I'm eating when I'm eating it. Training, you know, gym's right next door. So like there's no excuses not to go. I'll just get locked back into what you've given me. And in cardio, I was like, I'll try and like, I think towards the end of this week, start of next week, try and like ease that back in. He goes, why don't you just do cardio in the next session? I'm like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's it. Like,
why do you need to start it next week? Just do it now. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Yeah.
And that's like, it's funny because, like I'm now like between maybe mid Marbella, or just before Marbella last year, and then a little brief period, but like before Marbella this year, and then I had become one of the people that I now help is like people who sacrifice their life for their job or their family or something, you know, and their physique and all this stuff, or like habits. And like I had become that person. I'm like, okay, that's why I can only do this in spurts, right?
Yeah.
But what Helmy said to you, and it's like, it's coaches now, we tell those like those how do I say this? We tell the lies in our head.
Yeah.
Like, but we're like, I'll call out people with fitness and you'll call out people with that, like building a business.
Yeah.
But then we will do the exact thing just in another medium.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Helmy got you on he got me with something on it earlier today. And like, I was talking to some guy in the social circle and he was like, how do you do like multiple pieces of content a day? And I'm like, I just do it.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it's this like, I wonder if it's like some people are just like, I think everybody has that element to just do it.
Yeah.
But it's like only in certain mediums. If that makes sense. Like, you know, there's no way I could sit down and do 20 sales calls again. Actually, no, that's a lie. I absolutely could. You know,
I think if you want,
I love talking to people.
Like I'm kind of the same. I'm kind of like, you know, could I sit and do 20 sales calls now? Like I probably could. I wouldn't want to, but like I could. Like fuck, I could do it. It comes down to like how badly do you want to make the money? Like I mean, like if somebody said to me, goes like, I'm gonna get there's 20 sales calls you got to do today. Your closers off. They're all good leads. Like you could make like X number of quid if you actually just sit down and do it. I'll be like, yeah, fuck it, okay, I'll do it. So yeah, it all just comes down to like how badly, like it sounds like a cliche, but like how badly do you want it? So, but yeah, man, let's start to land the plane. So we've kind of went through the journey there. Fill us in a wee bit, like what's going on in PDK's life right now. Like we've got I know you've launched like a new community, the Crack On, and yeah, let's look and hear a wee bit about that.
So Crack On community, it's it's like when you boil it down to what it is, it's a group coaching, it's a group coaching element. But I'm big onto what we've done in it, and its USP is the things I did in treatment, like the lessons from the 12 steps of recovery in AA and NA, and the you do certain writing on certain piece of work, like a step 1, a step 4, a step 1, a step 2, a step 4, and a step 5 were the ones I did in treatment. And I've taken inspiration from those and added them into like coaches do like goal setting with clients, and I've always thought they were so bad.
Yeah.
Because I always thought like any coach that does like the SMART, you're just like, write your goals on this document. And it's like, bro, these people have had these goals for years. It's what people need to be aware of is like, and like some coaches do it, they still don't do it well. I will go out and say I think most of my friends who are coaches still don't do it well. And that's like maybe one of them does it well. And it's like, instead of being like, what are the consequences? What are the consequences if you don't do this? It's like, I want you to, like, people are like, oh, this will happen. I'm like, yeah, but that's just like a statement.
Yeah.
It's like, give me every single feeling you felt over the last 7 years where you haven't achieved this, that you don't want to experience anymore. And I was reading, like, people were messaging me in it, and it's like, this is the heaviest, this is the heaviest stuff I've done for 20 quid a month. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's meant to be. Like, I knew doing it that I wouldn't get, a massive community in it.
Yeah.
It was something, it's like, we take on like 30, 40 people. I think there's 35 in there at the minute. And like, really going through the program with them and then like showing that like this, like when you actually boil it down to why you're genuinely unhappy opposed to like, I want to lose a couple of kilos, and it's not learning what you want from fitness. It's learning what, for me, like what you want to escape from. And it's those negative feelings. It's just like, obviously you have to face up to them. You have to like appreciate them to some degree, but not just like disregarding them. When people lose weight and they're like, oh, I felt like XYZ years ago, and it's like getting really clear on how you felt years ago in the current state is what we go from. So it's, that's what we're going for. It's like, take inspiration from the 12 steps. It is like, someone did message me and be like, this is too much for me. And I'm like, I expect that. I expect some people to be like,
yeah, it's too,
I'm not really in it. Like, I thought I was just getting involved with like a group coaching. But like, this is a little bit more. And I'm like, it's group coaching, but we're just super, super analytical on the like why you're here.
Yeah.
The feelings why you're here, how you'll fuck it up. That's a question I love asking clients, and it's probably something to ask anyone when they're trying to get a goal is like, things are going well right now. Yeah, they're going great. How are you going to fuck this up? And like, those are the big questions we ask in Crack On Community. It's going really well. People are happy. We have a group call there in a couple of hours.
Okay.
Which is always fun. They're almost like my group sessions from treatment. It's like either lots of laughs or like it's very heavy work.
Yeah.
I never step out of the boundaries of what I'm not allowed to do. But it's awesome. It'll be like, it's going to be a lot. It's not something that's like, most coaches now with a big following. It's like, oh, I just get a good piece of content and then I'll get a really good launch. I'm going for like, I'm really looking to build this into like, how do I say this? Almost like, do you know how people like worship Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get people to like
worship me.
No, not me. The work, like the work.
Yeah.
And if I'm a conduit to that work in my experiences, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It does definitely sound like something very unique, and I think like whether it's fitness coaching or business coaching or whatever, like group coaching has become almost like a bit of a bad word in the industry. People are like, oh, I don't want to be group coached. I want one-on-one. It was something actually my own mentor said to me, and he was like I do have one-to-one with him. But I was with him on a group program for a long time, and it is still mostly a group program, man. It's like group with a little bit of one-to-one. Like I get less one-to-one with him for like, nearly $5,000 a month than like my own clients get one-to-one with me for, less than $1,000 a month. And, we like, even with our one-to-one, offering, like we'll still get people being like, oh, it's not enough one-to-one for me. And I'm like, well, like, do you want like fucking like, do I need to hold your hand like and spoon feed you like a fucking baby? Like how much one-to-one do you want? I mean, like you can literally, I'm talking to you right now. Like we are communicating in real time. How is this not enough for you? Like and they're like, oh, well, I want X number of calls per week and I want this, that, and the other. I'm like, that doesn't exist. Nobody's offering that. And like, do you really need to be babied that much? Are you not like a grown adult that can like take information and go and do like your own thing? Because even if I did offer that, and if I did, it would be like $5,000 a month minimum. Because like that's so much time you'd have to give up. But even if you did offer something like that, it's like you're not teaching that person to actually be self-sustainable. Like all you're teaching them to do is keep coming back to the nipple for milk. You're like, you have to keep coming back to me, and you're here forever because you're incapable of doing it. Now, as much as everybody wants their clients to stay forever, it's not a realistic expectation, but you do want them to leave when they leave, they're like completely capable of doing things by themselves. They don't need to feel that I have to leave to go to another coach because I'm incapable of doing anything. Like you want them to leave and be like, oh, I can do this by myself now. And maybe they come back someday because, maybe they fall off the wagon, or maybe they're just like, I wouldn't mind the accountability again. So yeah, it's an interesting sort of perspective, but like that, like your community sounds really fucking cool. And I think that's a really interesting way to actually run it, is that, look, this is group, but it's going to be really heavy. We're following like this kind of methodology. And I mean, I actually think it's a good thing that you've got people like buying out of it, being like, this is too much, because you'd rather it's too much than too little.
Yeah, like we're like the way I look at it is like there's probably a degree of like experience and like my own kind of biases here, but every group program in the world I think should be ran like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. It's like those people show up for themselves. Yeah, they keep showing up. There's no like mentor there. The only mentors are the people with more experience in the rooms. Like I'm coming up to 7 years clean and sober, and for better or for worse, haven't been to a meeting in a long time, but I still do a lot of practices each and every day. If I'm like, I think I've experienced cravings maybe 3 or 4 times since my first year. Maybe more, maybe like 10, let's say 10, 3 or 4, it's like 10 times since my first year. And like, I credit that to like having like a very, not vague, but like it's vague, but it's directive playbook, which is the big book, the NAAA book. And then people take what they need from that, take what they don't need from that, and they put their own spin on, not their own spin, but everybody's different and everybody's individual. And they're like, if I read a poem and you read a poem, we're going to pick it up 2 different ways, right? Yeah. So they then apply that in their life, and that's what we've gone for in group, and it's working well. We have people in there who I have people in there who like have been binge eating for like 4 years, and they're like, I haven't binge eaten. We're only like, this is only like our 3rd week. Like I haven't binge week in 2.5 weeks since I've done that work. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. You've spoken to me twice. Yeah. And that's what we go for. Like I imagine there'll be a degree. I don't think there'll be a degree of churn. I think people will stay in there as much as I stayed in for the rooms as well. It was just like, if you're having a tough time, you delve in. Yeah. And then when you're having a great time, you give your experience. And that's what we're going for. Yeah.
I love that, man. Well, before we wrap things up, anything else you want to cover off that you don't feel like you've covered?
One time when I was taking a load of pills and trying to sell them off, I had put them in my sock, and because I was so fat and sweaty, they had like melted. So I was like putting my hand in my sock and rubbing it all up in my gums. That's just one more story I didn't cover. Yeah. So like sweat, it's like fat sweat in your sock, and ecstasy is not a good mix.
Man, that's great. Look, I really enjoyed having you on today. Like that's probably one of the funniest podcasts I've ever filmed. I probably ever will film. But yeah, man, look, anything you want to shout out? Where can people get more information on PDK Fitness if they don't follow you already?
Just on my Instagram. I'm kind of quiet on TikTok. Instagram, I'm a little bit more active on stories there. I'm pumping out a good bit of content as is, so like head on over. I might be making the big return to the gym tutorials pretty soon, but let's taper it down, because it's just you can't be that vocal and that animated anymore unless you're Tony McAlevey. Like, so
Yeah.
he ruined it for me.
Yeah. He's over I know. This is the thing. Like the thing about Tony's content was, like I remember whenever he first started doing that, and then I can't remember what content coach I was with at the time. They were like, but it was Yip was doing the editing, and he was like, I need you to be more animated, need you to be more this, need you to be more that. And I shot things in exactly the way I would say them and do them and stuff like that. I goes, oh, you're being too much like Tony. And I'm like, I'm not fucking trying to be like Tony.
Yeah.
And they're like, but like you said, he's like ruined it for everyone. It's like, if you do anything even remotely close to it, it's like, everyone's like, oh, you're just copying him. It's like, like, fuck, you can't have your own voice now because he's taking everyone's voice.
Mate, I reposted on my second Instagram account my RDL video that did I think across all platforms it did like 9 million views.
Yeah.
And I reposted it on my second account. I shot this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The comment was, I was sitting with Sean McAteer at the time. The comment was, wannabe wolf. And I was like, I did this before the wolf was alive. And I showed it to Tony. He's like, sorry, mate, but that is funny. And I'm like, it is funny. Like, I found it hilarious. Wow, that was so good.
Bro, we were in Fiji having dinner, and a guy walked. I thought it was somebody that was at the event we were at. It wasn't just some random fucking American guy that was having dinner in the same restaurant as us in Fiji. Walked up and goes, are you the wolf? And I went, no way. No fucking way. I was like, it's relentless. Anytime I'm out with him, it's like some people wanting photos. And I was just sitting there awkwardly like, yes, I'm not famous. So
when Casey comes down to Galway, dude, my own hometown, Casey comes down to Galway. We're out for a run. They're like, is that Sean Casey? And I'm like, I'm your local. I'm your local guy.
I'm your local guy. Yeah.
Validate me.
All right, man. So if anybody wants to follow you, it's at PDK Fitness, right? And and if anybody's listening to this and they're maybe, for some reason they've tuned in because they followed your story before, they're struggling with alcohol or drug addiction right now, is there anywhere that they can go and get some help that you'd recommend?
Yeah, before I would have said reach out to your local AA, NA, or therapist. What I would say is like message someone who's like message me, and I'll put you in touch with good people. Because when people are like if you tell someone, oh, go to NA or AA, they're like, oh, you have a problem. I'm like, it's like there's such bad connotations around it. There's so many other resources you can go to, like just like addiction counseling or anything that's like far less stigmatized. Give me a message and I'll point you in the right direction. I'll even give you some advice, of how to just like make it a day. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. Man, thank you so much for today. Absolutely loved every minute of it. And let's wrap things up there.